Like, I don't think they're gonna say you gay now. Did you say haram? I said haram. Maniac. You're a maniac now. Come on. شو مالك يا كلب يا حيوان. Literally, you know how you just said that combo? I know, but I was like fluent. I mean, I know يعني شوية. يعني شوية. أنا اسمي نور الدين, bro. Did you see the G-Shocks? The actual diamonds, the natural diamonds.
Oh, look, Lord, you moves, Lord, you
That's
moves.
Tupac?
I don't know, they got me going everywhere today, y'all. I don't know what they trying to do.
When I think of G-Shock, I think of like going hiking.
They're
like 12, yeah. They're fun walks. This? For real? Yeah, natural diamonds too. For real?
got me going everywhere.
That's fire. How much is this one? Same thing. This is the only one that's a little more. Damn, see, now we're talking my price. No, I don't even like this one anyways. Any? Yeah, that one. Hey, 12? 13,
You got me everywhere. They got me everywhere. I gotta take that music out. They got me everywhere today. Let me check on some stuff. Let me check on some stuff, y'all. View. Okay. All right. Okay. Damn. That junk, let's get back to it. That junk, like, I know what I got. I see. That's what I do. I put my other ones with these, but I ain't got that one hooked up. It's Lawyer Moves, y'all. We coming direct today. Yeah, we coming direct today. Hold up. Give me a second. We had the Tupac case today. I was trying to get it going today, but no luck with that. You know what I'm saying? They held me back. So, right now, you know what I'm saying? I think they had the two security guards who they had today. What his name? Reggie, I think Reggie White. Is it Reggie White or I think what the security guard, the head police? He was a police. His father was a police, so that was Reggie White. And then we had the other security guard dude, but it seems like well, they really trying to. It seemed like people being quiet. Basically, they ain't trying to tell nothing. That's basically the direction this is going. Like the direction this going is they ain't trying to really. The witness they put on the stand is not giving them nothing. Right. The witnesses they put on the stand, the witnesses ain't giving them shh. You know what I'm saying? No witness ain't gave them nothing today. Let's go to it. Let's you know what I mean? I might as well just do it now. You know what I'm saying? I was going to wait, but I might as well. The witnesses they put on their stand today was crazy. And I was like, nah. No. Nah. Let's listen to it, man. Let's get into it.
Yes, Your Honor.
You may proceed whenever you're ready.
Thank you. Good morning. On September 7th, 1996, Tupac Shakur came to Las Vegas to attend a Mike Tyson fight. After the fight, Tupac, along with Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and other people that were with that group, ran into a person named Orlando Anderson. And Orlando Anderson is the defendant's nephew. And when they encountered Orlando Anderson sitting by himself, they attacked him. That attack was captured on video. Then, a few hours later, Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight drive down Flamingo Road to Club 662, where Tupac is scheduled to perform a concert. Then 2.5 hours later, after Tupac and Suge engaged in the beating of Orlando Anderson, they are gunned down. Tupac is gunned down in a drive-by shooting from a white Cadillac in an act of revenge. During those 2.5 hours, you will learn that the defendant was escalating and planning the retribution for the beating of his beloved nephew. Now, let's be clear. Duane Davis did not pull the trigger. But what he did do was plan the retaliation for the beating of his nephew. You will learn that Duane Davis got the gun. You will learn that he got into a white Cadillac. You will learn when the opportunity presented itself for retribution, Duane Davis made sure that the shooters were armed and ready to execute their revenge. And remarkably, you will learn that from Duane Davis himself.
You gonna learn that?
But to understand what happened on September 7th, 1996, on the streets of Las Vegas, we need to go about 275 miles west to the city of Compton, California. Okay. What you'll learn is that Compton is about 10 square miles. But in the mid-1990s, those 10 square miles were occupied by over 30 gangs claiming its territory. And important to this case, there are 2 gangs, Mob Piru and the Southside Compton groups. Let's talk a little bit about the Mob Piru. The Mob Piru is a group that associated with the color red. And you'll hear that Suge Knight, the person who was driving Tupac Shakur that night, grew up in the neighborhood of Mob Piru. But by the mid-1990s, he'd become a very successful CEO of the record label Death Row Records. But despite, or maybe because of where he came from, you'll hear that Knight continued to employ Mob Piru gang members as part of Death Row. They would act as unofficial security, and other times they would engage in, let's call them other acts, on behalf of Suge Knight. But Death Row in the mid-1990s was one of the most successful record labels around. They had artists such as Snoop Dogg, Dr. Dre, and of course, Tupac Shakur. And in 1996, Tupac Shakur was maybe the largest and biggest, most successful rapper around. He had just sold, released All Eyes on Me, a double album that was met with huge success. Additionally, Tupac Shakur was a movie star, having appeared in a number of movies in critically acclaimed roles. He has, at times, been referred to as an icon. But for the purposes of this case, what you need to know is that Tupac Shakur was not a gangster. He was a hip-hop artist associated with the Mob Piru. Now, the other gang that's important to note here is the Southside Compton group. And when it comes to Southside, Duane Keffe D. Davis was the leader of the Burris Street faction of the Southside Compton Crips. And while Suge Knight rose to prominence in his neighborhood due to the money that he was bringing in through the music industry, Duane Davis rose to prominence in his neighborhood because he was a very successful, large-scale drug trafficker. And you will learn that that is how one moves up in the world of gangs, by bringing in money to the neighborhood. The other thing you'll learn is that Orlando Baby Lane Anderson was his nephew, and also a highly respected member of the Southside Compton Crips. Now, as part of this case, you're going to hear another name, Eric Zip Martin. Now, Eric Zip Martin is not a member of the Southside Compton Crips. In fact, he's based out of New York. He's involved in the drug trade and knows Duane Davis as a result of both their involvements in the drug trade. Duane Davis from the West Coast, Eric Zip Martin from the East Coast. And one of the connections that Duane Davis gets through his association with Zip Martin is with Sean Puffy Combs, who was then the CEO of Bad Boy Entertainment. Sean Combs wanted some security when he came out to the West Coast. He was worried about Mob Piru. He was worried about the members of Death Row Records. And so Duane Keffe D. Davis agreed to be around to act as unofficial security for Sean Combs and his artists when they came out west, in order specifically to ensure there are no problems with Mob Piru and Death Row Records. And this took a rivalry between Mob Piru and Southside Compton Crips and escalated it. And those tensions boiled over in the Lakewood Mall in the summer of 1996. There, you'll hear that Trayvon Lane, a member of the Mob Piru associated with Death Row Records, was there with other members of Mob Piru in order to do some shopping. Lakewood Mall was a mall nearby Compton. You'll also hear that Baby Lane Anderson, Orlando Anderson, the defendant's nephew, was there. Now, Trayvon Lane that day was wearing a chain with a Death Row medallion. And there was a fight that occurs between the Mob Piru group and the Southside Compton Crips. And at one point, that chain is pulled off Trayvon Lane's neck. Now, what happened to that chain is an issue of much dispute. Not everybody agrees with it. But the act of pulling the Death Row chain and the brawl that occurs further escalates this heated rivalry. And what you'll learn is that these two men, Trayvon Lane and Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, they encounter each other again, this time in Las Vegas. So that brings us back up to September 7th, 1996, here in Las Vegas. Again, Mike Tyson is fighting Bruce Sullivan. He disposes of him in less than in a round. Doesn't take a full round. And then after the fight, Tupac Shakur, Suge Knight, and the people that are here with, they leave. And among his group is Trayvon Lane. And that is why this fight occurs. Trayvon Lane and the Death Row group sees Orlando Anderson standing by himself, and they decide to attack him in retribution for what happened at the Lakewood Mall.
If you're not using your VA loan benefit,
Okay,
you might be.
So Trayvon Lane, and okay, so we got the that's what we got right there. That's where we at. That's where we at. All right. All right, that's where we at. he giving the whole story for your ass, and you get the whole story, the truth, or nothing but the truth. All right, let's get back to it.
Orlando Anderson's on the bottom of that group. You see security coming, trying to break this up. And then you'll see Tupac Shakur, Suge Knight, Trayvon Lane, and that group exit the engine there. Now, Orlando Anderson was by himself because when Duane Davis purchased the tickets for the
Orlando, okay. Hey. Sit down. What? Hold on. What I just say? You. That's where we at. Orlando Anderson. All right. So I don't know how they spell their names. So Orlando Anderson, Trayvon Lane. These who, so basically, Tupac jumped into something that ain't had nothing to do with him. Okay, so basically, that's what it is. Tupac jumped in. Says, all right, so we're gonna say this. Okay, there we go. All right. Now we taking it all down as we go. That's what we doing.
fight, he got him through a scalper. So everybody that came with Duane Davis were seated separately throughout the fight. And so Orlando Anderson was at that time by himself. You'll see that Mr. Shakur, Mr. Knight, and his group leave the MGM Grand. And you'll see that Orlando Anderson, after being held by security, is questioned for a bit, asked if he wants to press charges. He decides he doesn't want to participate in any type of prosecution and that he doesn't need medical attention.
So it seemed to me that Yep, that's what he was doing. So let's go.
Duane Davis hears about this beating. And what you will hear is that in his world, there is no question that a response is required. And you will hear from Duane Davis what happens next. Because what happened over the next 2.5 hours is something Duane Davis would later describe himself in a secret 2008 interview from his attorney's office with the federal task force. And we'll talk about that interview and the circumstances surrounding that later. But we'll hear about what the next 2.5 hours was. So, what we learn is that Duane Davis is upset about the beating of his nephew. And frankly, that's not an unusual response. What's unusual is the next steps Duane Davis takes. Unusual for the normal person, maybe not unusual for in gang culture. Duane Davis decides he is going to organize a retaliation, that this beating cannot go unanswered. Then he runs into a person named Zip Martin. Remember the Zip Martin that was a connection with Bad Boy Entertainment from New York? And Zip Martin tells him that he has a gun and that he can come help him out.
Hey, where do you go to? What do you tell Zip right now? You tell Zip, hey, we're going to go handle this shit or whatever?
Yeah, like, y'all want us to come? Like, you know what I'm going to do? They was they don't get 662 club.
Who's that?
Everybody.
Everybody.
Yeah, everybody.
Well, how do you know that
So later, Duane Davis organizes 2 vehicles to go over to the 662 Club. Before that, he gets the gun from Zip Martin. He goes out to his Mercedes-Benz, gets the gun from Zip Martin, and then after some time, he assembles 2 cars to go to 662 to violently confront Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight for the beating of his nephew. And you'll hear that Duane Davis wasn't initially in the white Cadillac. He goes into a van, and Orlando Baby Lane Anderson, they go in a white Cadillac, and they go to Club 662, waiting for Tupac Shakur, waiting for Suge Knight, waiting for this violent confrontation. And what you'll learn is that Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight don't show up while they're there.
We went up to 626, they didn't show up. We waited about 15, 20 minutes, they didn't show up. So, they're like, let's go get some liquor. We stopped at the liquor store. I got on my hands there and jumped in the Cadillac.
So what you hear Duane Davis say is he got out of the van and goes into the Cadillac. And the plan at that point is to go to a liquor store, get some booze, and then go back to the Las Vegas Strip and party. What the original intention was before Orlando Anderson was beaten at the MGM. But on the way back to the Las Vegas Strip, they see a caravan of cars. And that caravan included Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. And in that white Cadillac, before the shooting occurs, Duane Davis explains that the driver is Terrence T. Brown. In the rear driver's side is DeAndre Dre, or Big Dre Smith. In the rear passenger side is Orlando Baby Lane Anderson. And Duane Davis himself, Keffe D.
It's so easy to become a podcaster.
Well, shit, that was a whole. That's the whole car going for it.
And this is how Duane Davis explains the murder of Tupac Shakur.
Yeah. People little liquor store right there. We came up Harlem. That's Long Bay Boulevard. Shit. Here they come in that BMW and they get in your car. And Carl's Tupac! I'm like, there you go. Hey, the U-turn was up for me. Just one of the U-turn. They was in a little lane. We just pulled up on the side, checked every car, see where they was.
So what directed your attention to was some girl shouting at Tupac?
Just told. I gotta put that in there too. He told on himself. Hold on. He told on himself. We gotta put that in there. We definitely gotta put that in there. He told on himself. Hold on, you gotta put that shit in there. All the shit that don't do. He told on himself. Hold on. He just told on himself. I went down the street. I put the gun under the car. I came back. Nigga should be on they call that shit. Yeah, man. They don't, nobody want the man to go to jail. But this man told on himself. I'm just saying, he told it. You told on yourself, and you told on everybody else too. If there's anybody involved, you told. But then you try to go back. No, I didn't say that. I didn't know. It wasn't. I got immunity. Nigga, what is you talking? I got immunity. You told on yourself, and then you feel like you got immunity for telling about a murder. Just high standards. You just told yourself up in the jail. Just walked yourself in. See, people do shit, man. You walked yourself into a jailhouse, bro. You basically been like, hey man, lock me up. I only got this much time to live anyway, so I might as well just tell my Martin Luther King story. Type of shit going on. That's what that is. Like he want to tell a Martin Luther King story. He got a story to tell, and I'm telling you one thing. he's gonna beat the case. And people gonna be surprised. Like shit. Like he's gonna beat the case because the case is everywhere. It's a everywhere case. It's nowhere you can. The only thing you got him is just saying the dumb shit, and he done stood back on his stance of that. Like I was this, I was that, I was this. He got some reasoning to stand back off of it. He's sick, old, all that type of things. But he's gonna beat the case. I'm just gonna say that early. You know what I'm saying? Because the case just people gonna go in that joint, just to stand on the. They don't want to see him go to jail. One, Tupac involved himself in something he shouldn't involve himself into. Two, three, all groups of gangs came together and turned their head to the situation because he's a civilian. And nobody was gonna go down for it until this motherfucker got talking. And the great thing about it, everybody else dead. But this dude just started talking. And he the only one to lie. But at the end of the day, he had a story to tell. That's what it seemed like to me. Like he got a whole story to tell. He about to die pretty soon, nigga. He went to jail. He telling y'all he the king of he the head of a Crip gang and shit. Suge Knight is involved with a blood gang. Two gangs gonna say that, man, he should not, and it was a blood and a Crip that got into it. But he led a mob down the hallway to go jump into something that he's not involved in. So just like the mafia, somebody got to come together and talk about this shit. So he was deleted. Basically, from the program. Because he never was part of the program. He just was an artist. You didn't try you can't be an artist and you not nothing and trying to evolve yourself into some street shit. Like he ain't had nothing to do with it. You're an artist. Stand back. Stand tall. That's what he supposed to been doing. But he involved himself into some street shit. So that's why everybody like, nah, we don't want to see Keffe D go to jail. I'm just gonna give it to you raw. That's why they don't want to see Keffe D go to jail. Nobody want to see Keffe D go to jail because Tupac involved himself into some shit that he ain't supposed to involve himself into. He wasn't part of nothing. He should not involve himself into the situation. So he got deleted and all his turned to the situation like, no. That's how it goes. That's their culture. That's their gang life. Hey, well, why you know loyal moves? I'm just saying, man, for all these years of knowing a lot of shit, I know. Motherfucker just turned their heads to this nigga like, man, and let him be deleted. Because he involved himself in something he ain't supposed to involve himself into. That's basically, ain't nobody gonna go in that motherfucker and be like, man, he BB and say shit. Nobody gonna say nothing. Even Suge Knight ain't gonna say nothing. Don't you notice? Suge Knight ain't saying nothing. Nobody gonna say nothing. The only one might say, even the police dude ain't gonna say nothing. Real shit. Why they ain't saying nothing? Again, Tupac evolved this in something he didn't. He shouldn't. He led a whole crowd like he was, you know what I'm saying? He done started his own organization. I swear to God, that's what happened, man. He done made a whole, like he ain't part of nothing, and he ain't even from LA. So he got deleted and everybody turned their back to the shit, like, cause he ain't supposed to did that. He did something he ain't supposed to do. That's one. Two, is this up to the courts and Keffe D right now. That's it. It's all up to the courts and Keffe D. And practically the stance of him being in the gang the whole way through. A like story of Keffe D right now. That's what you getting. For real. Then at the end, he win. They got no gun. They got no people. They ain't got no really too much but words. You ain't got no evidence. You just got a bunch of words. That's what it falls down to. Like, you ain't got no evidence. You got a bunch of words. Just a bunch of words flying with no evidence. A whole story. Punchline. No evidence nowhere. The only evidence he got is his eyes saying it, but he said he was trying to make some money. Write a book. He ain't even write. A ghostwriter wrote it. That's what he said. Old boy said he wrote a book, but he didn't write it. A ghostwriter wrote it. That's it. That's his stance. He said he's trying to get. He was broke. He was trying to get paid. He was desperate. He said he wasn't in his right mind at the time. He going through cancer, going through this, going through that. I'm just giving all the defense of why he changed his stance and everything of what he's saying. So that's a key factor of prosecution. So the prosecution is trying to dodge around that now. That's the only thing they can dodge, but they have to have solid evidence and not just throwing words. So you just throwing words, that ain't gonna help nothing. You gotta have solid evidence. And the only scary evidence they have is him saying that he did it, then going back and saying that his mental is fucked up. He going through some things. He this, he that. That's where it get complicated. That's the only way it get complicated. Other than that, they ain't got no evidence. They ain't got nothing but words. Everybody dead. The only people alive is two police officer and security. A security officer. And they ain't saying nothing. Let's go to it. I'm gonna show you. He's still giving the story about the night. Hold on.
did a U-turn, so then you pull alongside of it. You guys were in the car. Have you already handed him the gun at this point, or at what point you handed him the gun?
I thought he was going to go on my side. You know, that's one of them on the job, man. You know, he pulled on his side.
So you were fitting the blast if you had to, or you were just...
Yeah, when you were on my side, I was there.
Okay. So you handed the gun to the backseat.
Yeah.
You can hear Lane?
Yeah, Dre was like, no. And Lane's like, dude,
So what you hear Duane Davis say, admit, that as they see Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight driving to Club 662, Duane Davis, along with Terrence Brown, DeAndre Smith, and Orlando Anderson, decide to make a U-turn, confront Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight. Duane Davis has the firearm. It's a firearm he got from Eric Von Zip Martin, and then he passes it to the back. Duane Davis says that if they were on his side, if Tupac Shakur and Suge Knight were on his side of the vehicle, he would have shot them himself. But because they were on the other side, he handed it to DeAndre Smith. DeAndre Smith, according to Duane Davis, did not want to shoot at that time, so Orlando Anderson shot into that car. Duane Davis explains this over and over again.
literally on the street.
Okay, Lane starts blasting. You say Suge looks over, he sees you. He looks right at you.
I was like, I just know he got something to say, you know.
When he looks over at you, and then, Tupac's busy getting shot, and then the story is Tupac's trying to either get out of the
Backseat or something.
Yeah, what do you see happening inside that car?
I see the bullet going through again. I thought he was dead. He got straight or something in the head or something.
A piece of glass went into his neck right here.
And he had a thing in the head.
Right?
I thought he was dead.
Okay. So, I'm sorry, you guys stopped the truck. You pulled up, stopped the car, and let him get off?
Yeah. And we made the right.
Okay, but he stopped what you said, right? Let off.
And we made the right, and so for all the Seabreeze and phones.
Hold on, man. Hold on, man. So then you gotta think. He said he seen the bullet. It Suge head. He thought he was dead. Sound like two guns. That's what it sound like. Sound like two guns. That's what that sound like. It sound like two guns involved. That's crazy. Sound like two guns. Two guns, son. He said he seen Suge get hit, and he thought he was dead. But also Tupac, but they both on two different sides of the car. All right, they both on two different sides of the car. Yeah. First time caller.
I got the money back. Yeah, because I've been busy. Her recliner chair wasn't working. She was panicking like crazy.
Yeah.
$105.
Out for 5
But I
o'clock.
I didn't transfer it yet, though.
It says out for 5 o'clock. I told you.
Yeah, it's 5 o'clock. I don't even know the time I got.
After 5 o'clock.
Got here, had to hurry up and rush to her or whatever, below meeting. Got there for 3 hours. Came here, fixed her chair. It's my first time school bus sick. Got heat. Bad fuck kid. When I get back in. Ain't even eating nothing. I don't know if I might take the whole 105.
Tupac's trying to jump in the back seat. And what should have been talking. You couldn't really know because he was too big, you know.
One of the things Duane Davis talks about during the murder of Tupac Shakur is that there's a car full of women. I think he calls them broads at that point. A car full of women who are there as well. And you're going to hear it from one of them. What she's going to tell you is that she disagrees slightly with Mr. Davis's rendition of facts. They were, in fact, communicating with Suge at Tupac's car, but they weren't talking to Tupac, they were talking to Suge. And what she says is she hears gunshots, she sees a white Cadillac flee, and then what Duane Davis interprets as them chasing her, she'll tell you is them just panicking and trying to get away. But she will say they inadvertently follow Duane Davis and the other people in the white car as they are fleeing. After Suge Knight and Tupac Shakur's vehicle is shot, Suge Knight makes a U-turn and heads back to the Las Vegas Strip. The car ultimately can go no further and stops. Police arrive, medical arrives, and you will hear that Suge Knight was grazed in the head and had some glass going in his neck. He ultimately survives those injuries and is released fairly quickly. You'll also hear that Tupac Shakur was shot multiple times, that he was brought to UMC, and that 6 days later, he succumbed to those injuries. And within 24 hours, the Cadillac and the assailants are back in Compton. They stay the night, and they drive right home as though nothing happened. But a war followed them back to Compton. Because while people were afraid to come forward to police, the police knew and the streets knew that Southside Compton Crips were responsible for this murder. And the war that follows in Compton is a bloody one. You'll hear that Mob Piru and Southside Crip members start shooting at each other. Within 10 days, 3 people are killed. A number of people are shot, including an 11-year-old girl. And what you'll also learn is that none of those cases were prosecuted. Why? Because in this context, in the gang context of this, the combination of gangs and guns is scary. And in this world, silence means survival. The one person who has a hard time being silent is Duane Davis. You're going to hear from 1998 to 2023, Duane Davis has given a number of statements regarding this case. So, as early as 1998, Davis spoke to the FBI. He admitted he was in Las Vegas during Tupac's murder, but he denies being responsible. Then in 1999, Davis speaks to the FBI again. And these aren't interviews that are focused on the Tupac Shakur murder. These are interviews regarding drug transactions and drug trafficking. But he does say that Tupac does come up, and Duane Davis admits to being in Las Vegas for Tupac Shakur's murder. Says he wasn't involved, but he was mad about the fact that Orlando Anderson was beaten, and that his plan was to handle it in Compton had Tupac survived. Then in 2008, the interview of clips we've heard today, in a secret interview with the federal task force, Davis admits to his role in the murder of Tupac Shakur. And we do need to talk a little bit about this 2008 federal task force. Because what this task force is investigating is not the murder of Tupac Shakur. What this task force is investigating is another rapper's murder. A rapper by the name of Christopher Wallace, somebody who was Biggie Smalls, so the notorious B.I.G. Christopher Wallace got murdered 6 months after Tupac Shakur was killed. And there was some allegation that the LAPD might have been involved. So a federal task force was formed to determine what happened to Christopher Wallace. And the interesting thing about the murder of Christopher Wallace is that Christopher Wallace is killed leaving a party in LA. Also at that party, Duane Davis. Christopher Wallace there was a suspect vehicle that involved a Chevy SS Impala, and Duane Davis happened to own a Chevy SS Impala. Now, as a result of that, the task force decides, well, let's look at Duane Davis. And the thing we know about Duane Davis is that he trafficked narcotics. And so they were able, through a CI and an undercover, to have a drug transaction with Duane Davis. And as a result, Duane Davis now has a case, a big trafficking case. And so the federal task force approaches Duane Davis and his attorney, and they say, hey, look, we want information regarding the murder of Christopher Wallace. That is what we are trying to investigate. And what Duane Davis says is, I don't have any information about that thing, but I can tell you about what we did. I can tell you about Tupac. And that's what he does. He tells a federal task force that that's about his involvement, what you've heard, his orchestration of the murder of Tupac Shakur. That secret conversation, that proffer, was secretly reported and released later.
My name is Stephen Headland, head of finance.
All right, let me see son. Let's check something else out. Let's see something. Cause you only need 2. Right?
May I please have you state and spell your first and last name for the record?
James McDonald, JAMES-MCDONALD.
Thank you, Mr. McDonald. Mr. Paul, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. McDonald, it's fair to say that you're here because of a court order. Is that right?
Correct.
That you didn't volunteer to come or anything like that?
Not at all.
Okay. But you were instructed by a court that you had to attend.
Yes.
Okay. I want to ask you about September 7th, 1996. Were you at Club 662?
Yes.
What was Club 662?
It was a club that Suge bought, and we operated it. When he opened, I was head of security to the neighborhood. Just a place to go and hang out.
Did the number 662 mean anything?
It did. Well, to the new guys, That was part of our neighborhood 662.
Okay.
MOB.
Okay, MOB. And when you say MOB, there used to be before Apple iPhones and those types of things, when you had to have lines and you press numbers, 662, there would be letters under those numbers, and M and O would be under 6. Is that right?
Right.
And B would be under 2?
Yes.
So 662 would be MOB.
Yes.
Okay. When you talk about Suge, are you talking about Suge Knight?
Yes, sir.
How do you know Suge?
He lived in my neighborhood.
And is that in Compton?
Yes.
When you were at Club 662, you said you were head of security.
Yes.
Was somebody by the name of Reggie Wright Jr. there with you?
Not at that time.
No?
No.
When was he with you?
I got out of prison in 1988. She came and got me in 1988. Like 4 days from coming home. Started another company.
Okay, so then we got data. Hold on, we gotta put this in. Make sure we put it in. Hold on. Think you wanted it. Everybody want the man gone. That's what it is. Okay. That's what it is. Let's get back to it. Dang. All right, let's get back to it. Got it on there.
Another company
Burn Hill Records, then Death Row Records came. Soon as Death Row was launched, Reggie came a few months after that.
Okay, so we're talking about the start of Death Row Records. Reggie wasn't part of Death Row Records initially, but you were.
Yes.
And then Suge Knight, was he the boss of Death Row Records?
Yes.
Was Suge from the same neighborhood?
From the mob?
Yeah.
I wouldn't say Suge was, he was guilty by association.
Okay.
He wasn't from the neighborhood. He lived in the neighborhood. We looked at him as somebody from the neighborhood. When he started Death Row and started to recruit us, then yes, he's from the hood.
So I guess there's a difference between living in on a certain street versus being from the hood.
Yeah.
And how would you describe that difference?
I look at it, you have three different type of friends in the neighborhood. You got gang members, you got gang bangers, and you got men that just guilty by association from living in that area.
Okay. And can you tell me what the difference between a gang member and a gang banger is?
A gang member hangs out. A gang banger handles his business, put in work, do what the gang do.
And what was your role with Death Row?
I was the guy that if something happened, she would have you take care of that. Like Snoop Dogg trial, there was issues up there. I was sent up there to make sure those problems didn't happen again.
And are those problems, and I'm not asking you to get into specifics, but are those problems meaning issues with other people who might be gangbanging or might be trying to threaten folks?
Correct, yes.
And you are somebody that Suge relied on to be able to protect his roster of music artists and other things like that.
Correct.
And after you were asked to help out with Snoop, did Snoop have any other problems?
No, we didn't have one issue at court.
Now, I'm going to ask you, fast forward a little bit, to, were you familiar with the Southside Compton Crips?
Yes.
Would you say they were somebody you were in alliance with or a rivalry with?
Right.
Okay. And would sometimes that rivalry get violent?
Anytime you're dealing with the gang life, there's going to be violence at any given time.
Are you familiar with somebody by the name of Tupac Shakur?
Yes.
How are you familiar with Tupac?
He was assigned to Death Row.
And when he was signed with Death Row, would he also hang out with you guys?
He hung with my brother now. Yeah. Not me.
Who was your brother?
Alton McDonald, Country Ave.
He went by Buntry?
Yeah.
Heard what he said. Not me. Young, my brother. Not me.
Now, during this time, is it fair to say that Mr. Shakur had an issue with rappers from the East Coast?
I think Tupac inherited the beef between Suge Knight and Puck.
Okay, that was your perspective of it.
That's all it was.
Yeah.
And we all fell. Some of us fell victim to it because we allowed ourselves to be a part of the.
We all fell victim. He had to correct himself.
The BS, should I say. And that was a situation between record companies, not gangs. So technically it wasn't our business. But
what did I just say?
When you had...
It's not their business. That's not their way of living. So he basically like a brain, a OG, and he explaining this shit. Listen to what he's saying.
20 men just fresh out of prison, and didn't have a way of getting the things they wanted, getting a paycheck from Suge, we did almost anything and everything to get that paycheck.
Now, was there another gang that was associated with Bad Boy Records, the East Coast record company that Puffy had?
The only one I know of is Southside.
And did that escalate the tension between Mob Piru and Southside?
At the time, there was no at war, no, it was peace. And when the two record companies got into it, Bad Boy went to Keffe D now, and Suge came to us. So that intertwined everything, and we, yes, we had issues.
Do you recall any instances that you were at where there were issues, those issues manifested itself in terms of violence?
Are you serious? Don't ask me that right here. I can't say that on both sides. When each neighborhood met each other, there was a lot of tension. I'd say that.
Okay. Now I want to talk a little bit about September 7th, 1996.
Mm-hmm.
Were you in Las Vegas on September 7th of 1996?
Yes.
Why were you in Las Vegas?
To run the security at 662, we were having issues with individuals that said that they were coming for whatever reason they was coming forward and to come to 662. My job was to not let that happen.
Similar to the kind of security you were asked to apply in the whole Snoop Dogg situation.
It didn't have nothing to do with Snoop Dogg. It was, everybody came, well, Suge and Bunch of them, his entourage, everybody went for the fight. My job and all of my people were there to make sure nothing funny happened at 662. So we were the fall guys. So if something happened, we was the one that's going to go to jail for it. Prepared to do that. So nobody else was going to come up there and disrupt it in that manner. But if anybody remember that night, it was so many Metro and everybody there. No, neither side could have did anything. So it was calm, it was peaceful.
So when you say there's so much Metro there, you're talking about so much Metro at Club 662?
It was police all over the place.
Now you said you were there to be on the lookout for something. What were you?
You said I was on the lookout for nothing.
I apologize. You were there. You were there in order to ensure there weren't any problems. Is that fair?
To make sure everything was good.
And because you had heard there might be some issues.
Correct.
And what were the issues that you were concerned about?
Individuals coming up there, creating an issue we was having with different sides of from with Crips, period.
Yeah. So you were worried about Crips. Not worrying, so I'm sorry. You were there providing security to ensure that Crips did not initiate any violence at Club 662.
Not just Crips, that nothing would happen.
Okay.
Period.
Okay. And then when you were there, was Reggie Wright Jr. with you that night at September 7th, 1996 at Club 662?
Yes.
What was Reggie doing there?
Reggie's job was to watch me and make sure I don't get in trouble. Everybody knew how I was. So Reggie, everybody else went to the fights. Reggie was there to watch me with the people that was there.
And I'm guessing that you were not the only person there making sure there wasn't any problems at Club 662.
I'm positive it was 30, 40 Pyrus there.
And again, that was to make sure that there wasn't any violence that occurred at Club 662.
Right.
When at some point that night, do you learn that Tupac or Suge had been shot?
That night, yes.
Can you tell me how you learned about that?
Well, people was coming back and was explaining that Tupac and Suge just got shot. everybody was in a uproar. A lot of people started leaving, trying to get over there on Cobalt. We couldn't leave because we didn't pay to do this here. It wasn't too long after people started coming back, like Haron came back and went to the hospital. The majority of the people was leaving and then coming back because that night they said Tupac was going to be all right. And even Suge came back with a little bandage on his head. And we thought everything was good. People kept partying.
So, and when Suge came back, he said he had a bandage on his head. But
the dude said he got shot, but he was grazed, a little scar, but nothing penetrated.
Some people would describe being shot in the head even slightly.
You described it as that.
Yeah.
You're wrong.
All right. So when you find out, well, let me ask you this: was Reggie with you when you found out that Tupac and Suge were shot?
Yes.
And did it appear to you in any way that Reggie Wright Jr. was coordinating the murder of Tupac Shakur?
Ask that shit. He kind of stumbled. He stumbled on that one.
Impossible.
I mean, and I say this because you're aware that there have been some conspiracy theories that Reggie Wright Jr. is responsible for the murder of Tupac.
And it's so not true. His father was implicated, and his father had something to do with it. Reggie Wright used to be a police officer. And here again, I've been knowing Reggie Wright over 50 years. His daddy, as a police officer, patrolling my neighborhood. He done took me to jail many times when I messed up. If Reggie killed Tupac, then death row is over with. Tupac was the money source. Tupac was that guy in death row. So Reggie would have had a problem if he would have did that. And Suge, I truly believe Suge would have opened his mouth if Reggie betrayed him like that. So people say what they want to say.
After that night, do you stick around in Las Vegas or do you go back to Compton?
Well, I stayed in Vegas and we left that morning because we knew we was going to have neighborhood issues, and everybody left and went back to Compton.
Why were you thinking you might have neighborhood issues?
Well, you asked me some. The issues that we was having was heated, and Compton was on fire at the time, and things were happening. And me personally, staying in Vegas wasn't worth it. That man in the hospital, it's time to go in and protect your home front and be prepared for whatever happened there. You know what I'm saying? Like the other side was being prepared and was prepared to do things because Orlando got beat up in there. And that's something you don't tolerate. So you was going to get some repercussions from that and everything else that was going on. So living this life, you got to be ready. If you're not, you might as well just lay down.
Now, you weren't there for the beating of Orlando Anderson at the MGM, were you?
No, I was.
Like we talked earlier, you were at 662.
Yeah.
But are you aware of why Orlando was targeted?
I'm aware of a lot of things. Things that was going on. People ain't talked about it in 30 years. Today ain't one of them. I don't mean to be funny, but here's the thing. A lot of things happen that night. A lot of things happen weeks and weeks after that night. Me or anybody else bringing up the dead is wrong. A lot of people got hurt behind this situation in itself.